you for joining us for another episode of On Patrol with the Suffolk PBA. I'm CJ Hutter, the treasurer of the PBA.
I'm Tanner Brandamari, the sergeant at arms of the PBA.
And today we're excited to have Sean Manning on with us. Sean is an active Suffolk County Police detective, but he's also a real estate broker.
Yeah. Yep.
So thanks for coming on, Sean.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So for all our audience out there watching, tell us a little bit about your police career, and then we'll get into the real estate stuff that you're doing right now.
Yeah, sure. So I've been in law enforcement for 20 years. I started back in 2006 with the NYPD. I spent about 6 years with the NYPD. And then in late 2011, I came to Suffolk County. I was on patrol in the 5th for a while, did midnights. Those are tough to leave the midnights.
Yeah.
And then I went to the gang unit, got promoted to detective, worked in the district attorney's office, narcotics under the firearm suppression team. And then in 2021, up until now, I've been assigned as an FIO, which is more of like the street clothes detective assigned to criminal intelligence who helps out a specific precinct. So I've had the 5th precinct for the last 5 or so years. And now I'm assigned to homicide major case in the district attorney's office. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So all that intel work, the FIO spots in the precincts, that's all really interesting stuff to me. And that's one of the things that we've had Commissioner Catalina on, Chief Doherty, Tom Galati came on, and everybody's really highlighting how they want to grow the intel division here in Suffolk County. And they really want to stress the importance of the work done by people like the FIOs in the precincts.
I think you nailed it. There's obviously with the Deputy Commissioner Galati being around, I speak with him daily, and my lieutenant, Detective Lieutenant Massana, what they've done in that real-time crime center or the CAC, what they've done there is just unbelievable. I always say that whether you're on patrol or wherever you are in the department, you got to stop by police headquarters and see what that room. I know you guys have been there. You got to see what that room looks like. It's like something out of a Jack Bauer 24 episode.
Right.
There's cameras everywhere, and Newsday, I believe, News 12 or Newsday highlighted it recently, and it's just a wealth of information. It's basically like our version of a fusion center, like other departments and states have. It's like a one-stop shop. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And what's great about it, too, is it's the local police department embracing updates in technology, right?
Absolutely.
And utilizing tools that are available now that maybe weren't available 20, 30 years ago. Right, especially when we start our careers. I'm in my 20th year also. Right, so it's adjusting with the times to be able to keep the people of Suffolk County safer.
Oh, totally. I mean, there's so many more people well equipped to describe, the day-to-days with what we do. But from a criminal intelligence standpoint, just the collaboration is completely next level. Like, we deal directly with Albany when it comes to grant reporting and like it's a lot more than just the day-to-day gun and shield going out there and helping people and working cases. It's just, there's nothing from school incidents to long-term gang cases. It's really cool that what goes on in that command. And another thing is, like I mentioned, just the multi-agency collaboration. We have somebody from Nassau, New York. I met the gentleman from the NYPD who's there now. There's another one who's been there for a while, but basically probation, parole, everybody is jammed into this room. And if I need something or they need something, you don't have to contact one of these other precincts. It's right there at police headquarters. So it's really cool.
You can be something more proactive in this. I'm sure you know stuff that's going to happen before it even happens. And
it's really cool. It's not that we've ever had roadblocks, but it's really nice to just centrally, locate information in one spot instead of having to like call a specific precinct. I mean, that'll always be easy, but it's nice that there's a funnel of information and everybody's collaborating. It's really cool. Yeah, that room's awesome.
Stuff like that's awesome because to be able to collaborate and work together as one big law enforcement team in Suffolk County, I mean, there's a lot of intel that comes out of the jails. There's a lot of intel that comes from,
about them,
right? Yeah, I mean,
that's one of the biggest.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that's one of the things where Commissioner Catalina, before he was our police commissioner, he was an undersheriff in the sheriff's office, and he helped really get, made that unit over in the jail snowball and grow into the unit that is now with all the intel gathering they're doing.
Totally. Years ago, that gang intel unit that they have there in the jail, I've always worked with those guys. So it's been, to me, it's like this, it's just constantly growing and growing, but they've always been a tremendous resource. But now, especially with the gentleman we have in there with us, like the information is always bouncing around, and you can't ask for any more because that's the whole point of it. It's the multi-agency collaboration. That's what that fusion center, model is built off of.
And the relationships between Kevin Catalina, our commissioner, the sheriff, Errol Toulon, and the DA's office with Ray Tierney has been tremendous. And it's really, I feel like it's allowed you guys to build better relationships, and really, I'm sure that's been big for you guys.
Yeah, it's definitely been big. And now being in the same position, same unit, but a different position that I have now, it, and like everything is relationship based, like you just mentioned. So for me, working there once before, doing things with them fairly often, even working out of the 5th precinct as the FIO there, assigned to criminal intel, like now being responsible for interacting more on a day-to-day with them is paramount. And that's what you mentioned, like just building the relationships, continuing to communicate. It just makes it easier, especially for our guys when okay, this just came to me. I know it needs to go to CJ, right? And then it's just the constant flow of keeping the channels open. So it's cool, really cool.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm glad that you brought up the grants coming from Albany too, because that's all part of the equation here in Suffolk County, where we get some funding from the state, and that funding matters for some of the programs we have. Like we have the what's the gun one? The gun suppression. Give. Yeah, give. Yes.
We have give. We have there's a couple of them. We have an environmental grant where it's like the old school way of like broken windows, the broken windows theory in the NYPD. If there's something that doesn't look right and it's a constant eyesore and it attracts bad things are going to happen. Right. We have something, I don't want to say similar, but it reminded me of that, at least on a personal level. It's called CEPTID. It's crime prevention through environmental design. So that bus stop that we can collaborate with the local towns to remove, because it's been a hotbed for people to hang out in, and it's not comfortable for actual, passengers who want to get on and off the bus. They don't feel comfortable getting off because somebody's sleeping in there or doing something they're not supposed to. Or there's an area where people feel comfortable to cut through the woods and do something they're not supposed to. Well, if we can change that with landscaping, fences, it sounds silly, but it's not. And it really works. So again, there's many more people, a lot more well suited and equipped to talk about it, but it's a lot of what we do outside of the day to day. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I find that stuff interesting because a lot of it is fighting crime and helping the quality of life here in Suffolk County by thinking outside the box.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yep.
So, Sean, you do some great work over in Intel. I find that work very interesting, but the main reason we had you on the show today is you're actually a real estate broker too. You have Over South Realty. Yeah. And you do some great work, and you have a great program that helps our members.
Yeah. So I got my license. Everybody has a COVID story, when you're like trying to work out in the backyard and wearing masks and all that crazy time. And my story was I felt like I think it was really my wife pushing, like, you don't use all your brain on certain days. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I don't know if that's a bad thing. Okay.
That's like a backhanded compliment, right?
Compliment. But she was right. Like, work is awesome. That will always be A1. And everything that I have, I always say this, is because of that, our job. And that's why I'll never leave. But ultimately, when it comes to the real estate stuff, I got my license. I thought I was just going to be involved with one of my buddies who's a New York City detective in homicide, and he's a contractor. And we were like, all right, you know what? Maybe he can flip the houses. I'll help him find him. We did one together out in Mastic. I'll never forget the house. And that was it. The business just completely took off. I think a lot of our profession is all, trust and reputation. And this, we were talking before this started, like it's outside of law enforcement, you get those stories like, oh, tell me something cool. In real estate, you could always walk into any restaurant or any coffee shop and it's intriguing to talk about. At least I feel that way.
Yeah, I agree.
So when it comes to real estate, the members and rubbing shoulders with the guys and girls, and they, again, reputation is everything. They've tended to lean on me and lean on us to help them with their biggest purchase. Your house is how much more are you going to spend?
Yeah, right.
God willing, hopefully more. But, it's become really cool. So we started off working at a few different brokerages as a team. And I obviously need the team support because my day-to-day involves the police department and my family. So having that model and like helping each other started that way with a couple of guys that we all know in the police department. And then in late 24 or summer of 24, we decided to go independent and open the brokerage. And we started with one office in Sayville, and now we have we're just getting ready to open our 6th location.
Wow,
so it's
that's
really
incredible.
Cool. Suffolk, Nassau, and Florida.
Wow.
So pretty cool, yeah.
6 locations in basically 2 years.
Yeah, just for argument's sake, or scale sake, like a company like Compass, humongous. Yeah, I'm going to say probably the number 1 company in the country as far as like sales volume. And they've been on Long Island now for 10 plus years. We're approaching we're halfway there to their agent volume on Long Island. And we don't hit year 2 until July 1st of this year.
That's incredible.
So we're just shy of 200 agents, which is really cool. And a bunch of guys that we work with, which is really cool. NYPD also, FDNY. It's first responder, family structure and based, but we have every walk of life, every career, all that stuff gets checked at the door and we just help each other. And it sounds cheesy, but it's true.
That's a great niche though.
Yeah.
Listen, first responders, like you said, a lot of us live out here.
Yeah.
We want to live in good areas and know that we're getting that's the most important asset you're probably going to buy in your life.
Oh, no, it definitely is. And we see it. And a lot of it is problem solving too, with some of the things that we've done in our careers and still do in our careers. I will never minimize it, but it's not the toughest thing to handle some of the real estate problems.
Yeah, right,
You've experienced some of our problems. So and I never want to say that to dumb down's a terrible, term, but to minimize how important it is. It is extremely important. And it could be the difference of you being homeless, losing out on a purchase and your house is ready to be sold. But when that cool and collected, aggressive when necessary, but cool and collective demeanor is important. And that's what we have having both careers. So it's awesome.
Yeah. You don't want to minimize the importance of it, but it's not the same thing as a life and death situation that you face out on the road.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yep.
Yeah. So you have 200 agents now.
Yeah, just shy of 200
That's
agents,
incredible.
yeah.
I didn't realize the number was that high.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
How many of them are cops? Because I have at least a handful of friends that are working.
Yeah, I would say, I should know this, but I would say there's about 12 of us, 11 or 12 of us, ranging in every union, the SDA, the Detectives Association, the PBA, and the SOA, where all our supervisors work. So it's really cool. We have a few more in the queue who are just finishing their course and going to take the state test. And I think, and there's some of them, I'll never forget, there's a young cop in the 3rd precinct. I won't say his name, but he showed up to the office one day, suit and tie, didn't even realize who I was. And I didn't realize who he was, and shook my hand and wanted to interview to work here. And it's like the coolest thing, like that, professionalism. And like he treated it like he needed it. And like, that's what you want. So I feel like we've gotten to the point where every time we have some sort of function, I'm meeting new people that work there, which is awesome. I mean, you're 1099, so everybody's an independent contractor. So, agents can hang their license essentially where they want. But what we've built is like I said, the core values are there and it's showing. So yeah, the 5 offices on Long Island and 1 down in Florida that's just getting off the ground. So it's really awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Now, what's it like working in Florida too? Have you experienced a lot of, like, say, our retirees moving down to Florida?
Yeah. So Florida is actually the newest location for us. So our Huntington Village office is being built out as we speak. That's over on Green Street, right in the heart of town, which is awesome. And not far from where we had the Brotherhood event a couple weeks ago. The Florida location, this is all new to me. So I own a place in Florida, fortunate enough to take my family down there often. We love it. And I can only speak on my personal experiences from buying and selling because I have one of my agents that works for me on Long Island. He's also dual licensed and my acting broker in Florida. Okay. So it's awesome. So we're able to stay under the same umbrella, integrate the employees and agents the same way, let them feel what we have building here build that up down there and just collaborate together. But it's a totally different animal with the market down there.
I'm sure.
Oh, it's nuts.
Sean, can you tell us where in Florida is
so we're at Fort Lauderdale. Yep. So we're based out of South Florida. We're based out of South Florida. So we have a really awesome agreement with Zillow. You know, Zillow has become basically the Google for real estate.
Yeah, totally.
Everybody
wants the Zestimate of the house.
Zillow. There you go. Yeah. So there you go. The Zestimate, which isn't always right. But with South Florida, we have a ton of business that we do with Zillow, and our service area, which is all of Florida by license, but realistically, it's from Miami up to Jupiter on the East Coast. So it's a big area, but it's just a totally different situation down there. A lot of homes tend to sit on the market. There's a lot of issues since the Miami building collapse, where those people unfortunately passed away. HOAs have drastically changed. So, as far as costs and insurance companies, we can go on. That's another
that's what I was going to say. That building collapse led to a whole change in the insurance market down there.
Absolutely insane. I mean, between the insurance and the HOAs, you have to be very careful to check the numbers and make sure. We went through a period, January of last year, where you saw an HOA and you're like, I want to get that condo, and it's like $400, and then you actually inquire and it's double the price.
Wow.
And that's not traditionally not coming down. It's like taxes. It's always gonna, between special assessments and needing new things for the building, general costs of construction, it's always going to keep climbing.
General inflation.
That's what we're all battling against. Yeah, right. But Florida is a totally different, totally different temperature down there. No pun intended. But our primary focus will always be Long Island.
So. Obviously you got a bunch of cops working there. When you approached me about wanting to advertise on our website and stuff, you're like, listen, we want to help cops. We don't want to just work for the cops. We want to help them. Yeah. So you actually developed a program that helps our police officers when they do close on a deal.
Yes. Yeah. And that was awesome. And I can't thank you guys enough, and Lou especially, for, sitting down and ironing that out. So we do something really cool with the members, and they get a cash rebate or a cash reimbursement at closing. They could use it for whatever they'd like. Each member gets that, whether they're buying or selling. And if they're buying and selling, they get it at both transactions. So, we're trying to make this a one-stop shop.
Right, exactly.
And it's really going in that direction. And I hope that there'll always be independent relationships. I'm using my sister, she's a broker, or my brother's an attorney. You're never going to get in the way of that. Of course, obviously people work who they want to work with. But ultimately, for the members, how great is it to work with the members? Not just them as the members, but we're also members as well. We're, union members. So it's really cool. And what the attorneys, Sean in on the lending side, like we mentioned before with criminal intelligence and the relationships and communicating, like when that's flowing and it's like a group text. Right. You don't have to play the typical email, wait 3 days, respond back. It's just, the guys and girls helping each other.
It's a group text. Everybody's friends outside of the work too.
Yeah.
So, and I'm glad you brought up one-stop shopping, because that's a term we like to use here all the time for our members. We use it broadly because we have financial advisors downstairs, we have insurance brokers, we have all sorts of options. But when it comes to the home buying process now, it's one-stop shopping as well, because we got Sean Dwyer downstairs, who's a mortgage broker. Yep. Right. We have you guys over at South Realty, who's the real estate broker. Yep. We have a handful of real estate attorneys available to everybody. And now we've developed a relationship with Ted Panabianco at College Hunks Moving. Yes. And so now we have the movers also. Yeah. It's literally one-stop shopping throughout the entire home purchase.
The members definitely should get in tune with that. It's there, it's available for you, and it's there at a cost savings. If anything else, it's there to help you and your family, because at the end of the day, do what you want and work with who you want. Of course, we can't push, nor will we, but you're working with the guys and girls that you work with in your other career. And also, just having the true benefit to be able to say, you know what, I'll take this off of my plate. Maybe that helps with furniture. Maybe that helps with the bills. it's there. So I definitely, strongly suggest everybody, check in with your unions and make sure that you're aware of everything that you have, because there are some that, we all have our flaws, and they go to work with the blinders on, they come home and they don't realize that it's there. So, the websites, I talked to you before about somebody reaching out to me because of, it was actually one of the email blasts. And she called me and, works at one of the local precincts, and that was it. She saw that. Didn't know before. So it's awesome. It really helps. And it'll help all of them.
Right. And that's ultimately what our goal is. We're here to help the members and make a stressful process as easy as it possibly could be.
Totally. And that's exactly what we're here for.
Yeah.
Tanner here from On Patrol with the Suffolk PBA. Just a reminder to all our viewers to like, subscribe, follow, and share our content across all platforms.
So, having you here, I don't want to miss out on the opportunity to get a little bit of a real estate market update. Like, what's been going on Long Island right now?
So Long Island is still absolutely bonkers. It's, I think the spring is always like, I say like the same cheesy stuff for those who've heard and listening, like the real estate new year starts in the spring, in my opinion. Easter, people get back from break, the holiday.
Like flowers are blooming.
Yeah,
the
flowers are blooming.
Nice.
Mulch day. Mulch day is a big day. And then it's like, oh man, I got to get out there. And we see a lot of families, God willing, people out there with children who want to make sure that they can get their kids into another district. You don't really want to be doing that late in the summer with pre-screening. My little guy is going to his kindergarten evaluation today. So that's why I think the spring always, outshines the rest of the year as far as buying and selling. The inventory is still very, very low. There's been a lot of studies about how many years it could take before inventory gets back to where it was. And there's a lot of people a lot smarter than me who feel it might be another 5-6 years before we get that inventory back where it was. Because at the end of the day, if you live in Shoreham, you live in Sayville, you live in Bohemia, if you're I don't care what the rates are, right? I mean, we care. The rates are going to be the rates, right? If you're the only act in town and you're the only house that's available in that community that people covet, why is your price going to be at a level that it's supply and demand?
Right.
It's only going to go up. Yeah.
It's like the end of Billy Madison.
Basic economic concepts.
Economics, yeah. So
Billy Madison.
Yeah, when he rambles on and everybody's dumber for having to hear it. Yeah, but that's it. It's not rocket science. If the inventory stays where it is, the rates are fantastic when they come down, right? People love to refinance. We all want lower rates. I do hope that that's going to change, and I do believe it will. And it has slightly, but inventory is everything. So right now in Long Island, the communities that are busy are busier every week. Typical days on market, what we're seeing, a house goes up on a Monday or Tuesday. Usually there's several offers by day 7. End of the first week, we do a couple of open houses. The weekends, the agents are out there mixing it up with the public. No better way to grow your business than to be there at open houses, seeing people who are out there, not calling, not texting, front and center to buy stuff. Right. And it's no more than that. Closings are taking around 30 to 45 days. Sean would be a great reference for that. But it's nothing is changing until inventory changes.
What do you think the cause of that is, though? Why is the inventory so low? I get why people don't want to move.
It's a great question.
I feel like since COVID, the inventory has just dropped significantly.
I think there's a lot of people. Like my interest rate is 2.75, right? I've had accountants tell me that don't pay it off as quick as you'd think. Like that, you have that asset there and you're not getting, I don't want to say clobbered, but you know where I'm going with this. Yeah. Your rate it's feasible. And then that's feasible for me. It doesn't mean, but how do you trade that rate? Right? They
call that cheap money.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, if you're in, I'll say for myself, you're in my situation, it would have to be the perfect scenario for me to leave where I am and then move on to a 6-7% rate. However, you could look at it the other way. What we paid for our houses during that time period is a night and day to what they're worth now. So a lot of the smart buyers out there and a lot of the buyers we're working with, they're like, you know what? I understand what you're saying, Sean, about, trading the rate and getting out of this payment. But if I'm able to take a house I paid, say, $500,000 for, sell it for $1 million, and now use that cash to put down on a house I couldn't have afforded back then, yeah, your rate, you're not going to be able to totally control unless the mortgage is assumable. That's a whole different story. But you're not really always going to be able to control that. But however, now you just traded scenarios, right? The rate, that's the variable. It's going to come and go. However, you did so well on that initial purchase, you can now pivot to something higher. That doesn't always work for people. Sometimes it's tough to comprehend. They just see the black and white, the numbers, and it's like, no. I'm good with this rate and this payment. And that's why I think we're seeing inventory where it is. You know, the more buyers are educated, I think the more listings will come out. And I think as rates drop down, I think more people will feel more comfortable doing what I just said, because it's not 2 to 7, it's 2 to 4, maybe.
Yeah, right.
That's what I was thinking the whole time we were talking. Like, you were waiting for the rate space to come back down, so people feel more comfortable leaving the position they're in to go to another position, and then that opens up more houses.
So I'm going to throw you a complete curveball. What about the buyers who feel that way? I don't want to buy right now at 6 or 7%, but I'm going to buy when it's 4 or 5. I personally think, and this is just me, there's a lot of more experienced brokers, but when that happens and the inventory goes up because the rates go down, right? Oh, now I'm good. Now CJ wants to sell his property. He feels comfortable doing that because he's trading. His rate that he has now isn't that much different than what he's going to buy. But how many buyers are waiting on the sideline that are renting or living home with mom and dad and say, oh, I'm ready now. So it may continue to stay neck and neck where the inventory comes up, but that many more buyers come off the sideline. So that's why I got to agree with what the gentleman said that I read a couple of days ago about it might take another 5 or 6 years before we truly see a big inventory change. It's like, when did you ever see somebody getting $100,000 over the ask price?
Wow, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It
used to be you were accepting offers 10 grand under asking.
If you got the ask price,
right.
It was, I speak for myself for my home that I bought. Like, we went nowhere near the asking price and still managed to get something comfortable.
Right.
You know, we're seeing some properties. There's one that we have right now that this should make the news when it finally sells. It's unbelievable. And it's a great community, like all of our communities, but the competition was next level for it. Right. And it showed. So, but yeah, that's the general consensus. That's at least how I feel. There are people that, you know, will have different stances on it, but I always think that the supply and demand concern will override everything else.
So one of the complaints I hear about from some of the younger cops is, you know, they'll get made fun of for living at home with mom and dad because they're still saving, but they just can't afford to enter the market right now because they have nothing to sell and take on that 6.5% interest rate, right? They have no equity in anything. So it's hard to, they're having difficulty entering the market.
Yes.
Are you seeing the possibility of more of those like starter homes being built anywhere? Because I feel like every time I look at a construction site, it's either $1 million luxury homes or an apartment complex.
Yes. If you think the inventory is low for general single family homes, finding investment properties, multifamily properties, or land, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
So we work with a bunch of different builders. There's not many discounts that are out there. You know, think about material we talked about before, and you know, equipment. It's that world. They have everything down to a number, right? I know how much my framing is going to cost. I know what the foundation is going to cost, the appliances. As those numbers have crept up over the years, which we all know everything, you know, that makes it a lot less affordable for the young guys and girls who W-2'd income for a lender, rock solid buyers, right? Paid every 2 weeks, contract in place, security benefits. It still makes it tough with new construction. What I tend to see what some of the younger cops are doing is, again, they're living home longer. Renting is tough because you have nothing to show for it. But I also understand if you're paying $1,000, $1,500 a month on rent, you know, you can still save money. That's easier to do to build up a nice nest egg than spend $4,000 or $5,000 a month on a mortgage. So I'm in understanding in every, you know, every stance. However, I think that what we're experiencing is that the guys and girls are just staying home a little bit longer. You know, like I bought my first house at 23 in New York City cop. I was the first academy class at 25,100 starting salary. It was on Newsday or the Post. It said the 25K cop. I remember like knocking on my mom's head and like, wake up. I need money for the train. Like that's how I have my first pay stub. So knowing that everybody has different careers and starting salaries, and staying home and being able to, or whether it's home or in an affordable situation longer, that's fine. We tell people all the time, like, there's no push. I think that also segues into like working with people who understand, you know, like I get it. I've been in your shoes. We're in the first responder community. Take as much time as you want. Right. You don't realize who you're sitting across from. Somebody could respectfully be relying on you to do this, to make this move, to buy this house, right? Like it's a commission-based business. With us, it's just a lot different. We've experienced it. We're here to help you. We know the ins and outs. I know, you know, what you're going through as a young, you know, professional in this business, as a first responder. So we'll guide you. But if you want to come back in a year, come back in a year.
Right. So you and I actually followed similar paths. So I was the second $25,000 class in the NYPD. And I also bought my first house at 23.
You were, what company?
January 07.
Okay, so I was the first.
Yeah, you were the first. I was the second.
Wow. And we talked about this.
And I also bought my first house at 23.
Yeah.
And what I did was I worked as much overtime as I could once I was out on the road.
Yeah.
Every paycheck I got, I saved exactly half of it because I was still living at home with mom and dad. The other half, I was a kid. I had fun.
Of course.
Right? But I was able to save up enough based on the market at the time to put together a 10% down payment, which is all you needed at the time.
Yeah.
But I also was able to qualify because I saved money so early on in my career and my income level was still relatively low. I qualified for a first-time homebuyer grant at the time.
I did that too, yeah.
You did that too?
Yeah, it was $8,000 or something like that.
So I got one for 11.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. I did my
So are there any programs out there still for like first-time homebuyers trying to enter the housing market?
So there are specific programs that are out there and are available. They're usually like lender based, you know, like depending on which bank you work with, you know, that would definitely be a great question for Sean to talk about, you know, what he offers out to members. And I know when the members go to him, they're always very happy.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, as far as the specific benefits that they'll get for, you know, being either a first responder, there are credits and things available for that, differences between like points and rates, and that's their forte, you know, that's their side of the equation. But when it comes to us, they'll always get that credit. You know, they'll always get that at closing. And it doesn't matter, again, if you buy or sell, it's on both sides of the transaction. I always recommend, no matter who you're working with, whether it's us, you're working with somebody else, God bless, find out first, you know, talk. It doesn't hurt to know before you go down a path, understand and reach out to the unions, ask, hey, check out the website, look at the mailers and see, you know, what's going on right now. Because there could be something that's not available right now, and then something's rolled out and you didn't take advantage of it because you didn't know better. Right. But there's nothing specifically right now based like what we had back then, where there was at one point you had to pay it back. And then when I got the first time home buyer credit, you didn't have to pay it back.
Me too.
So unfortunately right now, there's nothing that I'm aware of that, you know, adds up to something like that. It just doesn't exist. But there are different programs that you can have. You just should reach out to Sean and see what he's offering. Yeah,
I think when I got my first time homebuyer grant, the only caveat was I had to own the house for at least 5 years.
Actually, I didn't realize that. You're right. Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I did. I did also, but there were a few quirky things. You couldn't just take it and sell the house.
Right,
tomorrow.
Exactly. I think I had to own the house for at least 5 years. Once I had it for 5 years, the grant was totally mine. Like I didn't have to pay anything back.
Yeah, those benefits are. I wish they did something similar to that. I know with the home buying process, there's plenty of steps down in DC to try to make that process go a lot smoother. I know there's been stuff that's happened here in New York that's made new constructions a little bit tougher, like we discussed with, the all electric builds that have to happen. I know that's been temporarily upheld, if I'm not mistaken, but there's also the new New York State property condition disclosure where every seller has to, we'll call it summarize it in like a 7-page book report on your home that we never had to do before, explaining the ins and outs and what you're aware of, any issues you've had, any insurance claims, ages of the major, tickets in the property, your windows, your roof. So I think for buyers, makes it a little tough for sellers with something like that, because you don't want to be put in a situation where you're inadvertently mislead somebody. But for buyers, it does really protect them, So I think as much as the homes, like home affordability has obviously changed. With buyers, there are other tools in place to make sure that you're protected. The attorneys that we work with here, right? The first line, your real estate agent, knowing if you're out there and you're doing the business we do, you've seen it all. You know what out of possessions look like, when there's an issue with a survey, when there's an issue with a lien on the property violation. So it's a lot bigger than just the X's and O's on the costs. It's making sure you have the right people in your corner, because I've heard some really crazy stories. Properties being sold, somebody taking possession of that property, the taxes being $10,000, $15,000 higher than where they should be, because it was never uncovered that there was a fire in the home years ago and there's a rehab rebate in the property, or the person who owned it was getting, senior citizen benefits and veteran benefits, and you didn't realize that when you bought, and now so, I always say, if you don't ask, you're going to be put in a tough spot. But if you work with people who know already, you don't always have to ask.
Right. That's an excellent point. When it comes to some of the stuff going on in Albany and DC, besides the obvious, just making it simpler to close, like maybe getting rid of this 7-page book report, is there anything you're looking to hopefully see done? Is there any sort of like lobbying effort by real estate brokers throughout the state?
There is, yeah. So we have something that's the hottest topic in real estate. It's not as cool as our other career, but my other career, but it's a lot to do with clear cooperation. So there are certain companies that want to be able to, I could say hide, because that's exactly how I feel about it. They want to take their listings and exclusively push them out amongst their companies. And I can't wrap my head around the fact that if CJ wants to sell his property, there's no study on earth that says you will do as well selling it with just over south. And I'll say that, as opposed to putting it out there to every single brokerage, to have that clear cooperation, to come in and help sell and possibly bring a buyer to your property. So right now across the country, since we've had that major change with the NAR settlement, which has changed the whole landscape of real estate, if you're a buyer, the moment an agent is working on your behalf, you have to enter into a buyer broker agreement with that person. So that's another thing, for our members. You got to be very careful. I typically don't see the days of, I'm working with mom's friend or my dad's buddy from college. He just got his license for, just to have it. Now knowing you're going to enter into a contract with somebody, you might want to hire somebody who knows what they're doing and has the sales and the reviews to back it up. So that monumental change and how commissions, they've been completely removed or decoupled from listings. You don't know until you enter that negotiation as a broker agent what you're essentially going to be compensated for.
Oh, wow.
You don't. It's based off of your buyer broker agreement that you have with that buyer and or the contract you have to list the property. But when you start hiding things and covering your paper and not letting anybody help out, I just don't love that. And I don't want to see it ever get to the point. Long Island is its own animal. I love that. I don't want to see it ever get to the point where our cops and our friends and family are trying to buy something and they're being pushed a certain narrative to go work with a certain company because we have these listings that are hidden, right? You can't see them.
Yeah, exclusivity.
Yeah. So that's a lot of stuff that right now is going on, there are other programs and portals out there that are saying, guys, to combat this, we'll give your company the ability, like Zillow did for us. You can put it out there. It's got to be on our website. It's got to be live. You're not allowed to show it because that's not fair to everybody else. You're not allowed to show it, but you can set it up for a certain time period just to gauge interest for the seller. Now, I do that with you, and you didn't really know where you wanted to price it. Let's use that time period to see what the story is, right? If we're getting a ton of feedback and all the saves and likes that everybody sees on Zillow, all right, now the moment we go live, that number is a good number. Or maybe we throttle it down, but it doesn't affect the days on market, and it doesn't affect the price changes. So once it goes live, we could have changed that number 6 times to make it work for you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's like a really awesome tool, but it's not hiding it. You know what I mean? It's out there. Zillow, you have internet in
you're gauging
Russia.
Interest. It's no different than doing a political poll.
Exactly.
Right? You're polling.
Yeah. So that's a great idea. Yeah. So, So that stuff that we're seeing now is just it's already tough. Let's combat the monopolies, right? Like we should all, hence clear cooperation. We should all be working together to lobby and make sure that when Mary lists her home, that home is available for everybody to see. I understand there's certain safety concerns, issues, unfortunate situations, divorces, maybe problems with a neighbor where you might not want to put a sign outside, or you might want to try a couple days. Like, you know what, but where do you think you're going to get the premium and king's ransom for your property? With you two and me, or 5,000 other people together working? So the long-winded response is that's what we're experiencing now. And some of the things we're dealing with, a lot different but similar importance levels that you guys have when you're up there. Lobbying for the members.
Yeah. I mean, getting involved with the politics of it all is all, it's part of the total package, really, right?
Totally.
Because people sometimes forget or get complacent how much Albany and Washington, D.C. actually affect their day-to-day lives.
100%. Our union in the real estate side is the Long Island Board of Realtors, LIBOR. And it used to be the internet search engine, to make sense of it for everybody in layman's terms, used to be MLSLI.
Yeah, multiple listings.
Yes, yeah. Now it's one key MLS. And I'm fortunate enough to have a great relationship with Doreen and her staff, the CEO of LIBOR. And they're always working very similar to you guys to try to make it better for everybody. I was on their grievance committee, so I got to experience some of oh man, this is crazy stuff that goes on that, thankfully not here, but it could. And just learning. So they're very big with events. There's one that they're having coming up soon in Patchogue that we always try to go to. They're always connecting with broker roundtables and Zooms to try to just make everything better. But it's a really cool setup because it's, again, different avenues, but it's all going to the same route. You know what I mean? It's all ending at the same destination to help the members.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, Sean, I find this stuff fascinating. Like I said earlier in the conversation, I got involved in the housing market early. I bought my first house at 23. There was a point in time where I owned multiple houses and had rentals. I don't do that anymore, but
you'll use me if you sell.
Yeah. Right. So this is something that's always fascinated me.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to touch on, get a message out to our audience that maybe we didn't talk about already?
Yeah. We're here to help. That's it. It's nothing more than that. Business is business, right? There is always, you hire a contractor, you hire an electrician, a plumber, the pool guy pool girl to come to your house. And, it's a business. There is a transaction that's involved in it, but we are genuinely here to help. I can't tell you how many times we've been speed bumps, because sometimes you have to be speed bumps in our line of work. There are times where you want to react a certain way, but you can't, and you do the right thing. And that's exactly what we do. So we'll always do the right thing by a member. I said to you guys from day one, I refuse to ever have a situation where there's even a dispute, no less an actual issue. So if you're out there and you need somebody to guide you through this process, I can genuinely say this sincerely. I don't mind who you work with, right? If you want to just call me just for advice to help out, and you have somebody, family, friends, and everybody knows this who eventually will see this, it's the truth. I will help you. And I don't need you to essentially work with us. But I also want you to know that if you do work with us, you're going to have the best experience you've ever had. So, and I always appreciate you guys, because these types of platforms are impossible, to get in front of without your help. So thank you.
Yeah, well, it's our pleasure. We're always happy to highlight anybody who's out there helping our members, doing any sort of service for our members, because that's ultimately what our function is. We're here to help.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. Sharing all the information.
Just a quick message to our audience out there. Please remember to like, share, follow, and subscribe. It really helps our content reach more people, and it adds to our algorithm. Thank you.